Donald Trump just sold Ukraine to Vladimir Putin. And the price? 2 Big Macs, 1 golden toilet, and a selfie with Kim Jong-un. What sounds like the plot of a badly written political sitcom may actually be the wildest diplomatic deal never made. But what if it did happen? Let's rewind and see how this ridiculous deal came to be. Imagine a normal Tuesday morning at Mar-a-Lago. Trump, in a red bathrobe embroidered with gold initials, sits at a breakfast table. A Big Mac in one hand, a Sharpie in the other, and a world map spread across the table like he's planning a Risk tournament. He squints at Eastern Europe, pokes at Ukraine, then turns to his assistant. Has anyone claimed this place yet? His assistant stutters, "Sir, that's Ukraine. It's already a country." Trump grins. "Well, everything's for sale if you've got the right buyer. Get Putin on the line." Cut to Vladimir Putin in Moscow. He's doing judo in slow motion for some state-sponsored propaganda shoot. His aide rushes in, whispering, Trump is on the line. He says he wants to make a deal. Putin raises an eyebrow. What kind of deal? Something about buying or selling Ukraine. He wasn't clear. Putin pauses. Is it a prank? A trap? Or just Trump being Trump? The call begins. Zoom split screen. Trump's background is a gold-plated office with a McDonald's bag in view. Putin's is a cold, Spartan room with a chessboard. Trump opens with, Vlad. Great to see you. You still shirtless most of the time. Haha. Listen, I've got a tremendous idea. A historic opportunity. Putin, I'm listening. Trump, you ever wanted beachfront property in Europe? Ukraine. Tremendous potential. Beautiful wheat fields. Not a golf course yet, but we can fix that. Putin, is this official? Trump, if I say it is, it is. And just like that, the wheels were set in motion for the weirdest political transaction in modern history. Days later, a formal contract is drafted. Not by the UN or any legitimate authority, no, this is whipped up on Microsoft Word by Trump's personal intern, who used Comic Sans and added Trump's face as a watermark. Clause 1, Trump declares himself, acting real estate broker of global affairs. Clause 2, Russia receives full ownership of Ukraine's landmass, excluding Crimea, which is already being used. Clause 3, Trump receives unlimited Diet Coke refills at all NATO events. A new resort to be built on the Black Sea coast, named Trump Riviera. 1 honorary judo black belt from the Kremlin. The contract is printed, bound in fake leather, and hand-delivered to Putin via carrier pigeon. Trump insisted on old-school diplomacy. Meanwhile, Trump calls a press conference. He stands behind a podium with a giant banner, The Art of the Ukraine Deal. He announces, ladies and gentlemen, I just made the best real estate deal of all time. They said it couldn't be done. But I did it. Bigger than Manhattan. Cheaper than Greenland. You're welcome. Back in Russia, Putin reads through the contract, sips vodka, and mutters, he's insane, but efficient. The funniest part? The contract also includes absurd clauses. Clause 9, Ukraine must rename its capital Trumpville for 30 days. Clause 14, all Ukrainian soldiers must wear red ties during international interviews. Clause 21, the Ukrainian flag must include the words Big Energy. Very strong, in gold lettering. Somewhere in the Pentagon, analysts stare at this document in stunned silence. One mutters, is this satire? Or real? News of the bizarre deal spreads like wildfire, and global reactions pour in from every corner of the world. In Kyiv, President Zelensky is mid-speech when he gets the news. He stops, blinks, and says, he what? He faints. His security catches him. The footage goes viral. In Washington, Biden is briefed. His response? Did we sell something? Where's Jill? At the United Nations, a special emergency meeting is held. Representatives argue over whether this is a violation of international law or just a really elaborate joke. Elon Musk tweets, should I buy Ukraine and make it Tesla-land? Poll coming. China releases a vague statement about respecting sovereignty, but also offers to broker future real estate deals. Twitter, now X, explodes with memes. Trump playing Monopoly with real countries. Putin, how much? Trump, yes. A video mashup of Trump saying, "tremendous deal," over footage of tanks. CNN runs the headline, "Is this legal?" Fox News counters, "Trump strikes again, genius or lunatic." Meanwhile, the Ukrainian people protest with signs, "We are not for sale," and "Make Ukraine free again." Putin holds a press conference sipping champagne. This is a great day for diplomacy and branding. Trump appears on Joe Rogan's podcast. "Joe, it was simple. No one else thought of it. Everyone's talking war, I'm talking deals." In the background, someone whispers, "He might be a genius. Or just incredibly lucky." By the end of the week, late-night hosts are making entire segments out of it. Saturday Night Live launches a skit called "The Trump Real Estate Empire, Episode Ukraine." And through it all, Trump tweets, on his own app, Truth Social, "Everyone's mad because I made a better deal than NATO. Sorry not sorry." The dust has barely settled, and yet the world can already feel the ripple effects of the Trump-Putin deal. In Brussels, NATO leaders gather for an emergency strategy session. The mood is tense. The German chancellor whispers, "We should have bought him a golf course instead." Macron just sighs and pours another espresso. Meanwhile, in the US, Congress is in disarray. Half are demanding investigations, the other half are trying to replicate Trump's playbook. Senator Green proposes selling Alaska to Elon Musk, just to see what happens. The stock market? Volatile. Real estate firms start listing countries on Zillow. A fake listing for Luxembourg, cozy, neutral, low taxes, gets 400K likes on Instagram. Meanwhile, in Russia, Putin celebrates his bizarre windfall by ordering a Trump-themed parade in Moscow. Giant gold balloons spell Trump, and a float features Putin riding a tank shaped like a golden dollar sign. Russian children wave little flags with Trump's face photoshopped onto Lenin's body. At Mar-a-Lago, Trump is already thinking bigger. Surrounded by gold-plated notepads and fast food wrappers, he declares, "Ukraine was just the appetizer. The real prize. France." His aides pause. One brave soul asks, "Why France?" Trump responds, "Wine. Castles. Baguettes. It's like a Disney resort, but with attitude. Tremendous potential." He begins drafting a proposal. Rename Paris to Trumpies. Replace the Eiffel Tower with a 300-foot gold statue of himself holding a golf club. Rename the Louvre to the Great Gallery of Winning. Back in France, the people protest immediately. A viral chant emerges, "Baguette, not Big Mac." Meanwhile, the United Nations is in full-blown damage control. A task force titled Reality Check Initiative is formed to distinguish satire from diplomacy. Its first move: investigate whether Trump's Art of the Deal, Global Edition, qualifies as an act of war. Hollywood jumps in. Netflix greenlights a new series, Real Estate Wars, Trump vs. the World. Ryan Reynolds is rumored to play Trump. Putin is voiced by Morgan Freeman for some reason. Even North Korea sends a message. Kim Jong-un, watching everything unfold, smiles. "I should have thought of this." He starts offering land in exchange for K-pop concerts and luxury hair gel. Back in the US, late-night comedians are thriving. SNL adds a whole season based on Trump's imaginary real estate empire. They film an episode called Trump Buys the Moon, where aliens sue him in intergalactic court. But what does Trump do next? In a tweet, from his own platform, obviously, he announces, "Big news. Next up, Greenland. I didn't get it last time, but this time I've got leverage. No one says no to the Ukraine king." His fans go wild. T-shirts are printed. Conspiracy theories emerge, the moon landing was fake, but Trump selling Earth is real. Scholars, meanwhile, are baffled. A panel of historians is convened to answer one question: is this the dumbest moment in diplomatic history or the most brilliant parody of power ever? The answer? Yes. And as the world braces for another absurd headline, one thing is clear. Trump isn't done. He's just getting started. World leaders hoped Trump's deal-making mania would stop at Ukraine and the vague threat of France. They were wrong. In a wild turn of events, Trump launches an official campaign called Nations for Sale, the global clearance event. The website looks like a used car dealership meets a political campaign site. Countries are listed like products, each with a cheesy description. Italy, great food. Fantastic ruins. Slightly bankrupt. Argentina, hot dances, cooler economy. Bundle with Brazil for a discount. Canada, like America, but polite. Comes with maple syrup. Trump holds an international auction live-streamed on Rumble, Truth Social, and unexpectedly. LinkedIn. He stands on a stage, gold mic in hand, auctioning off sovereignty like he's selling hotel suites. Do I hear $10 billion for Portugal? Come on folks, it's coastal, compact, and nobody pays attention to it. It's a sleeper hit. Governments try to intervene, but Trump's fanbase is global now. In Italy, a breakaway movement called Pizza First lobbies for joining Trump's empire. In the UK, a fringe party forms demanding the Queen be replaced by a Trump wax statue. Scotland blocks the border. Chaos turns surreal when Trump announces he's building a Trump World Parliament in the middle of the Sahara Desert. Modeled after the Roman Senate but with casino-style lighting, it's meant to be the headquarters of his new League of Business Nations. Each country must submit an application, an entrance fee of $5 million, and sign a loyalty oath that includes reciting Trump's best tweets from memory, naming their capital city Trumpita for 1 calendar year, agreeing to play "You're Fired" clips before all national addresses. Meanwhile, real UN staff resign in droves. The Secretary General tweets, "I didn't sign up for this simulation." North Korea volunteers as the first member, followed by Hungary and a small island nation that was actually just a cruise ship. The World Bank panics. Credit ratings are now replaced by Yelp reviews. Germany's goes down after a 3-star review, great engineering, bad attitude. Elon Musk gets involved by suggesting a merger between Trump World and X Civilization, his Mars-based society. Together, they form the Intergalactic Innovation Republic, IIR, complete with Dogecoin as national currency and all laws written in meme format. And yet, amid this madness, Trump posts a simple photo, him atop a golden throne, captioned, "Just getting started." UST. When you think things can't get more unhinged, scientists at CERN accidentally open a dimensional rift. Multiple Trumps from alternate realities pour into our world, each with their own version of global dominance. There's Cyberpunk Trump, half cyborg, speaks only in hashtags, rules Neo-New York. King Trump of medieval Earth, carries a gold-plated sword called Executive Order. Zen Trump, wears robes, preaches peace through very aggressive negotiations. Anime Trump, complete with spiky hair and a transformation sequence. The Trumps immediately hold a summit called the Council of Trumps. Chaos ensues as they argue over whose branding is superior. They split the globe into zones. Trump Prime controls America and all golf courses. Steampunk Trump takes over Europe via dirigible invasion. Space Trump begins terraforming Mars without permission. Putin tries to negotiate but finds himself overwhelmed by anime Trump's sheer aura power. Meanwhile, the original Trump decides to unite the multiverse versions under one empire, the Trumpternal Order. Their manifesto: one Earth, one wall, one leader, many Trumps. The United Nations, now working out of a basement in Iceland, attempts to summon the only person who can negotiate with all Trumps, former President Barack Obama. He returns reluctantly, dramatically entering to the Avengers theme. A new war begins, not with missiles, but with debates, branded merchandise, and tweet battles. CNN starts a new division, Multiverse News. Back at Mar-a-Lago, the original Trump watches the chaos and says, "This is bigger than Twitter. Bigger than TV. This is history, baby." He announces a final goal: conquer reality itself. With the help of Space Trump, they plan to rebrand the Milky Way galaxy as Trumpaxi. Germany proposed a comprehensive European shield defense strategy, focused on cutting-edge technology, cyber defense, and strengthening its military forces to protect against both Russian aggression and unpredictable actions from the United States under Trump's leadership. This proposal also called for a significant investment in space-based defense systems and AI-driven military technologies, which could provide early warning of any potential threats. The reaction from smaller EU states was mixed. Some, like Hungary, were skeptical of further militarization, given the economic burden it would place on their countries. Others, like Romania and the Baltic states, were more eager, fearing the growing proximity of Russian influence. The divide was clear: the EU was no longer a purely diplomatic union, but a growing military bloc grappling with real threats to its sovereignty. As the summit continued, one particularly bold move emerged from Spain. Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez proposed that the EU should invite non-member countries such as Japan, South Korea, and Australia into the new defense pact, creating a broader coalition that could act as a counterweight to both the US and Russia. This proposal generated significant interest, though it also sparked concerns about potential conflict with the US and China's influence in Asia. The summit ended in an agreement to begin drafting the framework for this new alliance. The European Defence Initiative, or EDI, would be formally introduced in the coming months, with plans to start military joint exercises and share intelligence. It was Europe's boldest move in decades and symbolized a new era of independence from US influence. EU's reaction to the Trump-Putin deal. The fallout from Trump's sale of Ukraine to Putin sent shockwaves through Europe. In Brussels, the European Union's headquarters became the setting for an emergency summit. The mood was tense, and leaders from all member states gathered to discuss their next move. The crisis had escalated beyond a political maneuver; it was a global security threat. The first speaker, French President Macron, stood at the podium, visibly shaken but resolute. "We've always been firm in our commitment to peace and diplomacy. But we must face facts: Trump's actions have disrupted global order. It's no longer a matter of trade deals and alliances. This is about territorial integrity and respect for sovereignty." Ukraine was never Trump's to sell. Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel echoed the sentiment, adding, "We are witnessing a dangerous precedent being set. If Trump can casually sell a nation, what's to stop him from attempting it again? Europe must take action." The words struck a chord with the rest of the European leaders. It wasn't just the deal that was infuriating, it was the audacity of it all. Ukraine, a nation that had suffered through years of conflict and instability, had been treated like a business asset in Trump's eyes. The idea that such a high-stakes transaction could happen with no international consent or legal framework left Europe reeling. The room buzzed with a mixture of anger and fear. Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki stood up, his voice firm. "We are on the front line, neighbors to both Russia and Ukraine. If Putin can take one country, what's to stop him from eyeing the rest of us? It is essential that we prepare not just for political fallout, but for the military ramifications of what has just transpired." Discussions turned to the best course of action. At first, there were murmurs of economic sanctions, punitive measures designed to make Trump's deal unpalatable. But European leaders quickly realized that sanctions against the United States were complicated at best and unrealistic at worst. The EU was still deeply intertwined with the US economically, and any retaliation would likely harm European economies as much as, if not more than, the Americans. As the debate continued, Italian Prime Minister Mario Draghi stood up. His voice carried the weight of experience and pragmatism. "We need to look beyond this moment and think strategically. This is not just a political game, this is about the future of Europe's defense. We can no longer afford to be passive." His words resonated throughout the room. The EU needed to strengthen its defenses, not just against Russia, but against the influence of the United States, which was now unpredictably shifting in Trump's wake. Merkel's eyes narrowed as she spoke next. "Perhaps it's time to focus on a European military alliance, separate from NATO. A force that will answer only to European interests." This idea sparked a heated conversation. The EU had always relied on NATO, but the Trump-Putin deal demonstrated how fragile that system could be. European leaders quickly began discussing the formation of an enhanced European defense initiative, one that could stand independently from NATO if necessary. At the heart of the debate was the issue of nuclear weapons. The EU had long relied on the United States for nuclear deterrence, but that reliance was beginning to feel increasingly dangerous. The idea of a nuclear-independent Europe was brought up with varying degrees of enthusiasm. Some countries like France, with its own nuclear capabilities, were more amenable to the idea, while others, like the UK, remained hesitant, worried about the potential escalation of tensions with both Russia and the US. Europe bolsters defense against Russia and the US. As Europe moved forward with plans for a stronger, more self-sufficient defense strategy, tensions began to rise. The European Defense Initiative was being formed to protect against the looming threat of Russian aggression and the unpredictable nature of the Trump administration. The idea was to create a military force capable of responding swiftly and decisively to threats without relying on the US. NATO's cracks were now more apparent than ever. Several European countries that had long relied on American military support began to reconsider their options. Eastern European nations, particularly those in the Baltics, were the most vocal in advocating for the EU to take the lead in defense matters. They argued that if Trump's presidency had shown anything, it was that the US could no longer be relied upon to defend Europe's interests. The EU's first step was to increase military spending. Member states collectively agreed to allocate an additional 2% of their GDP to defense. The money was funneled into new programs, the creation of an independent European army, the development of new technologies like autonomous drones, and the bolstering of cybersecurity defenses against potential Russian hacking and interference. A major highlight of the new European strategy was the establishment of the European Space Force, designed to protect European assets in space from potential threats posed by both Russia and the US. With the growing importance of satellite systems for military communications and reconnaissance, Europe recognized the need for a dedicated defense force to protect its interests in orbit. The EU also began collaborating with countries outside of NATO, notably Japan and South Korea, to enhance global security and defense technology. These countries shared similar concerns about both Russia's growing influence and Trump's increasingly erratic behavior. Their cooperation was essential in crafting a new global defense posture that could withstand both geopolitical and technological challenges. Meanwhile, Trump continued his efforts to sell countries like they were real estate. His rhetoric became more defiant as he mocked European efforts to strengthen their military positions. At a rally in Mar-a-Lago, Trump quipped, "Let them build their walls and shields. I'll be making the best deals." His words were met with applause from his supporters, but they only fueled the anger brewing in Europe. The United States remained oblivious to the mounting tensions as Trump's focus shifted to his next target, France. As he tweeted about his plans to buy Paris, European leaders knew they had to act quickly. The EU's new defense force, though in its infancy, was beginning to take shape. In an ironic twist, European leaders, who had once looked to the US for military leadership, now found themselves in the uncomfortable position of standing against Trump's increasingly unpredictable policies. Europe was caught in a delicate balancing act, trying to remain cooperative with the US while also protecting its own interests from an administration that seemed willing to sell them out for a profit. As European forces began conducting joint military exercises, the US remained largely indifferent. But behind the scenes, the Pentagon and the White House were growing increasingly concerned. Reports surfaced that the EU was developing new missile defense systems and space-based technologies capable of protecting European assets from both Russian and American interference. In Russia, Putin watched Europe's moves with a mixture of concern and curiosity. He knew that Europe was now preparing for a larger-scale military response to any potential Russian encroachment, but he also understood that Europe's efforts to shield itself from Trump's erratic behavior could shift the global balance of power. Putin began considering his own options. Perhaps it was time to make his next move. If this video made you laugh, cry, or wonder if we're living in a simulation, hit like, subscribe, and share it before Trump sells your country too.